Right. The business of government must run on time. That's enough pictures, gentlemen. I'm sure His Highness will be the first person to agree with me that we must keep to schedule. Excellent. Your Highness, Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce... Look, we spend a lot of time talking about government and about reform and about what needs to be done, and we've got many examples here of reform taking place. Now, somebody who is going to really give it to us about the need for deep-seated reform. The next guest believes that we need to repair the roof while the sun is shining. The only question is whether we've left it too late and the storm clouds are now gathering. Please welcome the Managing Director of the IMF, Her Excellency Christine Lagarde. You're on that side, ma'am.
Thank you, Richard.
Good to see you. Right. So, have we left it too late? Is it all over? Is it too late? I mean, should the work have been done already? And as we saw with the stock market last week, now the storm clouds are well and truly gathering.
No, it's not too late. And yes, it is time to fix the roof. And the market trepidations that we have seen in the last few days are not worrying me about the imperative of fixing the roof. Those market movements were clearly, in our view, necessary market corrections. The markets have functioned well. There is plenty of financing that is still available to finance the economy. So I would not focus on what has happened in the last few days. I would focus on the imperatives of change going forward and the need to fix the roof. I think in this country, that was anticipated in due course, and many reforms have been conducted. In the region, there are countries, from their own saying, that had plenty of time to actually fix the roof when the price of oil was at around 100 and haven't done it. And which are now saying, oh my gosh, we wish we had fixed the roof then. It's much more critical now. And for some of them, it's very urgent to fix the roof. So that's my view.
Why are you not worried when the market goes up and down 1,000 in the space of moments?
I think we said it several times before, and I think many observers and economists would agree with that. Asset prices had gone up massively, durably, and we all agreed at the time when it was so high that there had to be market corrections. We've seen it. Volatility has risen, clearly, and the indices are showing it, but it's something that was needed.
I don't want to spend too much longer on this because we want to talk about bigger issues, but on this question, to use the horrible phrase that everybody uses, though, on the macroprudential basis, the volatility that has been created, the huge swings, high-frequency trading and all that, do we need more regulation of the markets to sort of dampen down these vast swings?
I believe that we have focused exclusively for a period of time since the crisis on improved regulations, on an entity-based and on national base, which was generally the ratification of the Basel III agreements applicable to banks, or the ratifications of the regulatory environment applicable to insurance companies. I think we need to move from those levels, which have taken us in a safer place, to regulation of activities, not entities, because it's not going to be about the banks, it's not going to be about the insurance, and we need to anticipate where the next crisis will come from. Will it be the shadow banking, the good shadow banking, the not so good shadow banking? Will it be cryptocurrencies rising to the sky? So I think the focus on activities needs to move and shift to regulation on the entities and on a cross-national basis. And that's where
Much harder.
Much harder, but needed, because not doing that, not
Right.
fixing that roof, which is a universal roof, because money knows no boundaries. Money moves around. And that regulatory environment needs to be agreed internationally. The implementation and the, fixing the pipes and all of that will have to be done at the national level, but it's international.
Let's talk about the real issues that are affecting. You were talking earlier to me about the sheer number of people in this part of the world, and I also, we can add on, of course, countries like India, where there are some challenges by sheer size. What were the numbers?
Everyone in this room has heard about AI, DLT, IoT, and this is really important, of course. But we need to keep in mind the people. And the people in this region are young in the main. 60% of them are under 25. A third of them in the region are either unemployed, without training, not going to school. 60% of the people in this region believe that you get to where you want to get because of whom you know, not what you know. And 40% of the young people in this region believe that societies are not going to offer them jobs. And I think we need to focus our mind on that, because it's not just today's problem, it's going to be tomorrow's problem as well, with 5 million new young people coming to the market every year for the next 5 years. So all this wonderful and exciting stuff about AI, Internet of Things, distributed ledger technologies, need to be geared towards not the billionaires of tomorrow, not the low number of people who will be employed to make that new game, but how will it be introduced in our economies to support the young people of tomorrow? But it's a very hard challenge.
Right, but I feel I've heard this before in a different way, whether it be .com in the 90s, this needs to be for those without. Whether it's internet, just the basic internet, this needs to be for the generation without. Now we're talking IoT, AI, for the generation without. But the generation without never seems to get with.
And the generation without seems to get bigger. And
more dangerous.
And more dangerous, because the options are not many. The options can be, if there is no hope, believing anybody who is going to give you fake hope. And that's a real problem. So many more of them, much more connected, understanding lots of the challenges and the lack of expectations coming up. And that requires that we focus on either resolving the crisis when it comes or preventing the crisis before it happens. And I would be on the side of before rather than when it does.
Managing Director,
fixing the roof.
Managing Director, you have got no realistic hope of preventing the crisis before. All governments ever know how to do is deal with the crisis once it's there. Maybe I'm cynical, but I've lived through too many government crises to know that you can warn to your heart's content.
You're right, except that the memories of the financial crisis of 2008, 2009 are still alive. They're not far away. The pressure of the people who are coming to the market, the expectations that they have, should create that degree of urgency. If you wait until the crisis is here, it's far more difficult to resolve. If you anticipate, and that, you're right, it's very hard because you need the courage to explain what you're doing. And whether you're raising VAT because you're shifting to a new business model, because the price of oil has changed, because the need for public services is there, or whether you are doing a structural reforms of another kind, you need that same courage. But it is being done. Look at what has been done in the Emirates. VAT is now in place as of January the 1st. Nobody likes it. Nobody, right? But if you ask people, do you like security? Do you like nice roads? Do you like good hospitals? Do you like public education? People will say yes. And that needs to be financed. That needs to be transitioned through another model when the sources of revenue has changed.
Do you see part of your job now, as this transition from crisis to roof repair or whatever, do you see part of your job to now sound the clarion call of warning about this danger? Because I'll say it, you don't have to say it, you're talking about two options for people without jobs. They either fall deep into poverty, or there's an option of radicalisation, which of course has its own attendant horrors that we know too well. Yeah. Do you see it's part of your job to warn?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, because the mandate of the IMF is to participate in better stability, better prosperity, and you know, clearly the challenges are here. And the growth that we have around the world at the moment, you know, 3.9%, 3.9% next year,